Hudson River Computing has been here since 1993, helping organizations implement accounting and ERP systems. We've also done some other pieces like manufacturing, CRM, et cetera, as we go down through. We're committed to the products that we pick. It's important to which products we do pick, since that, a high quality product with a number of installations, as well as the quality, et cetera, that we're going to look at, is kind of important. So one of the nice things about Hudson River Computing is we're large enough to be able to do most projects pretty easily, but we're also small enough where you can, kind of reach the core people that you need to reach. Okay, you're dealing with the experienced people. So some of the core services that we actually offer are kind of, right here. So we'll kind of talk a little bit about each one of these. So in system design and implementation, our job is really to write solution for the business, meaning that we want to make sure that the solution that we provide to you is going to work well. Okay, if there are any known issues, that we take a situation, we try to figure out the best way to work around it, and or sometimes we might end up getting into some of the other services where we might have to customize or add a third-party product or tailor it. With the newer systems, some of these things don't happen nearly as frequently as it used to, say 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. So one of the things that we do, and it's kind of important, is that initial evaluation of your organization. Okay, meaning that what do we need to do for you? What does the system need to do to make your processes work well? And then basically enhance your organization to get the information that it needs, where it needs it, when it needs it. Okay, so in the part of the system design implementation, we review all of that. And then, the other part is there are times where, you have a really complex project, there might be a complete analysis that's required, okay? Or maybe a detailed section where we really have to go into depth of how you want something to work. Okay, so we kind of really define all that up front before we start the project. Sounds like a minor detail, but really important. Most of this we actually try to accomplish during the sales process as much as possible, because just like you don't like surprises, we don't like surprises in implementation. So one of the best ways to do that is to make sure we cover as much as we can during the process while you're choosing products. So our next service that we kind of talk about quite a bit is system integration and connectivity. Accounting doesn't tend to operate in a vacuum. Okay, and there can be different types of integration. For example, with Acumatica, we have what they call bank feeds, which allows us to read information that comes from the bank for bank reconciliations, or credit cards for expense management within Acumatica, those types of things. Okay. Additionally, there could be integration to a homegrown system. Sometimes organizations have systems that they've been using for years. They want to integrate particular information from customers or vendors, or perhaps even just GL. So it allows us to work with you to get that integration properly done, to integrate to and from Acumatica as necessary. The importance of that integration is, it comes down to, accuracy, reliability, ease of use, making it simpler for people to use the system as a whole, as well as the other system. Okay, nobody likes rekeying data. That's kind of the idea behind it. Customization and programming. We basically represent Acumatica and Microsoft Dynamics GP. We're focusing today on Acumatica, but the idea of it is, we don't like to do customization any more than you like to have customization done. So part of that key is making sure we minimize that as much as possible and use the system out of the box as much as possible. The idea of it is that we have, most of that managed by the vendor that's providing the software. That being said, with Acumatica, there's much more functionality available today than there used to be, say, 10, 15 years ago, or even 5 years ago. So if you take a look at Acumatica, a lot of times we don't need nearly as much, customization thought process as you did before. Now, that doesn't mean we don't tailor the system. So it could be a scenario where, hey, you know what, the sales order would work really well if we added one field to track one piece of information. We can do that very easily within Acumatica. We can also adjust the workflow. It could be a scenario where certain things get, changed around or moved around. Those are more tailoring instances than they are true customization and programming. So, kind of keeping that in perspective, we try to really minimize outright customization and programming. We really kind of look at it as more of a tailoring of the system to your requirements. A lot of times it's just setup and how things are set up. Data conversion. We all have data that we've used in our existing systems, or a lot of us do. And many times we want that to be brought forward. So we do a lot of data conversion services to bring that information in from your existing system and into your current system, into Acumatica, for example. And those sound like minor details until you want to do like comparative financials to last year's financial statements and things like that. That way you have things kind of to do that. So it really helps during a transition to have that data conversion process for future use. Training, okay? One of the keys part here is, hey, a system can be great, but if you don't know how to use it, it doesn't take you very far. Right. And what happens is with ERP systems is that just like, we all forget like how, we take like, for example, Microsoft Excel for granted. We think everybody knows how to use Excel. And to some degree, everybody kind of does. But we'll put quotes on that. If you think way back, some of us way back to the first time you used Excel and you wanted to say, you know what, I want to put it in these numbers in a row and I want to total them. Okay. Now, pretty much all of us know how to do that pretty easily at this point, but the first day we did it, it wasn't that straightforward. Okay, just like a lot of things, we've gotten used to them. One of the things with Acumatica that we do like is actually a pretty easy system to use, but the idea of it is there can be quite a bit of depth to it depending what your requirements are. So depending upon the setup, maybe certain things need to be set up for this, and this to work properly. And if that's the case, okay, so that functionality does what you want it to do, the way you want it to do it, sometimes, the training can help, okay? And it can also help ensure that you're getting the proper productivity out of the software. There's times where we've had conversations to say, even though you go through requirements analysis at some point, they say, oh yeah, we don't do that. And then you start talking more about it and they use different terminology for that, whatever that particular topic is, and the product does it for them, but they never anticipated that the product would be able to do that. So those are the kind of things we kind of get into with the training, as well as the actual training. How do you enter a voucher, or how do you enter a general ledger entry, or how do you set up a bill of materials, depending upon your particular instance of the application. If we go a little bit further, one of the important things is we don't disappear once you're implemented. We have post-implementation services. That kind of actually comes in a couple different places. One is, hey, we did this 100 times, but somehow we did something wrong and we need to make a correction. How do we make the correction? Well, sometimes the corrections are really easy. Sometimes people try to make a correction and they do it incorrectly, so then it becomes an undoing things and whatever. So basically, we're here to help with all those kind of things that might happen beyond that. Additionally, there's times where you say, you know what, hey, some new features came out in Acumatica. We actually just had a release for Acumatica 2022 R2 in the past couple of weeks. So the idea of it is sometimes it's like, hey, we want to make use of that additional functionality that we haven't seen before. And if that's the case, then it comes down to a scenario where that would be great to be able to do that. So with that, our post-implementation services sometimes are for smaller things. It's not like a whole project. We say, you know what, we want to implement, bills of material manufacturing now. Well, yeah, that becomes a project. Okay, but you know what? Hey, there's this new AR feature that allows us to look up data a little bit differently. We want to implement that. And at those smaller things, we actually help with that kind of an ad hoc basis, much like you would with typical support. The other part of that is we're available. You're not just popping an email. You can send us an email, obviously. You can put it into our website. There's different ways to contact us. You can phone call, give us a phone call. But the idea of it is, it's not like if you're contacting Microsoft and it just kind of goes into never land. Okay, so the idea of it is, some of these larger organizations, one of the issues is it's hard to get the support back. All right, so to keep in mind though, additionally, if you need support, and that might happen sometimes when we're not available for some reason, Acumatica is a second tier. So basically, if you call with them, they will be able to support you as well. Now, that being said, keep in mind they will not necessarily know your implementation like we do to be able to help as well. Okay, so hopefully you kind of understand what that kind of makes sense to. So anyway, so that's the theory on that. Okay, so it gives you kind of an idea, thought process, etc. So those are our core services.